Hey guys, Christopher Smith here with LeBlond. We're going to talk to you today not about lathes. We're going to be talking about the KO Lee surface grinders that we also service and also sell as well. So what we're starting off with here is a KO Lee KB6055CL spindle. We do a lot of rebuilds for these, and it's not just the 6055CL that we rebuild. We rebuild quite a few of them. And see, I've got a folder here of just a few of them that we do, but there's probably about 20 or 30 of them that we do for the KO Lee line as well, and also our logbook. So customer sent this one in, and it has seen a lot of work. It's probably one of the ones that's probably in the worst shape that I have ever seen, that I have not been able to get apart. So we have got the customer to buy a new one, and we'll go over that. So as you can see, this is the inside of the Quill assembly. So this is your spindle. These are your bearings with your spacer. You can see this bearing is locked up, and you can see the damage to it. And there's a lot of wear here on the arbor as well, where your grinding wheel is going to sit. So here's one of the lock nuts with the seal in it as well. And you can see this was on the back end, not even exposed to the coolant, and got pretty damaged. And the reason why I've chosen to rebuild it is, if you look here, I've sandblasted this. This was in pretty bad shape when it came in, but it is just, the wall is just too thin for me to get my wrench on that pulls these out. You can see here's a wrench that would go in there, and it just keeps popping. I thought about taking a punch and going in there, but I'm worried about messing up the threads, which would ultimately in turn damage the seal, causing it not to seal again when they start using cold. So this one is going to be going to the trash, and we're going to build a new one. And here's what's all involved inside the new ones. You got your housing here, which I'll need to stamp up, you know, with the KBS6055CL part number. And then what we'll also do, we'll put a LeBlond serial number. That way we can record it. If it, if it ever comes in, I'll know when it was, when it shipped out, for warranty purposes as well. Now I'll tell you, if you've got the KO Lee surface grinder or Quill, it needs to be rebuilt. With a rebuild, it's generally just your nut seals and your bearings. Generally, that we have to replace. A lot of times your spindle will be just fine. Your end caps can be reused. If they're rusted and dirty, we can clean those up, sandblast them, solvent tank, get them all good and clean. Big thing you want to do, with your bearings, these are high speed precision bearings, and as you can see, there's no grease in them as well. So we take a syringe with high temp lithium grease, and I will pack these all in and set it all in and test it. Now when it's all together, the end result is going to be this right here. This is the KBS8055CL. You can see nice and smooth, no sounds whatsoever as you turn it. And I'll go over showing you at the end, after we get it built, how we test run these, procedures for that, things to look for, and all that good stuff. So let's get started. Hey guys, so here I've got one of the bearings already done. I've already went ahead and stuck the other two and built the other side. To show you, how I pack these bearings. Like I said, I just got this syringe that I keep filling up, so that's why it's kind of messy. But I'm going to get it down in here and try to get this grease. And don't worry about the overflow, because you want to get as much grease inside these as possible. At the low end, these are running at 3,400 RPM, and the high end, you're running at 7,450 RPM. So I'll shoot that side, and then I'll go ahead and shoot the other. And I'm just gonna take my finger and just work it all around, trying to get as much in as I possibly can. And it's gonna be messy. You might be thinking to yourself, golly, he's wasting a lot. You take that, got my cup, wipe it off, Because you don't want to have too much excess and you just wipe off their way, because this grease is expensive. Well, I've got it packed. I'm going to go ahead and roll it a couple times just to make sure it's in there. And it's going to cause some of that I packed to come out again as well. So I'm going to go ahead and work it in again. That way I know I've got maximum coverage that I can get. Okay. So now I feel pretty good about this. Got my quill locked into the vise. Now per the drawings, these bearings are directional, and it took me a little bit of a while to understand that. But let me show you here. So the skinny side goes down inside first. And what I mean by the skinny side is the outer race here. You see how kind of thin it is, and you see this gap difference. But then I flip this over this side. You can see this side of the race is a little bit thicker, and that gap pane is wide. So it's going to go down in there like that with a thin going in. We'll work that in. Gonna wipe my fingers off. And I've already got the nut seal on the other side, so it's all kind of locked in. And now we're just gonna drive this down. Now to do that, I have the special made sleeve I put on there. This little slide over. And I'm gonna get a lightly tap it in. Next up are our spacers, and there's two of them with the groove. And the groove is gonna face towards the outside. But before I put those in, just use a little bit of oil. Just to help these two, when they're running, it'll help keep it from getting hot. Those are in. On my little sleeve. Drive it down. You'll let it down, you'll hear the sound difference, and it ain't gonna move anymore. Spacer lifted up. No big deal. Actually slides in pretty easy. And for our next bearing, and again, you say it's directional. Got the fat side there, thin side there. Then we'll be facing out. Work that on. Good punch. Set her down and seat it. Okay. So now with that in place, we go ahead and wipe off any of this excess grease on the spindle itself. And the nut seal is going to go in. And that's what's going to seal it and keep basically running coolant. Keep the coolant from getting inside, getting to the bearings, and any other, your dust debris from grinding. We always put a little shim on, and then I'll explain to you what that does here in a second. So, start with a shim. go on. And the next is the nut seal. Now for the nut seal, we take blue thread locker. This is just the medium strength so you can get it off. But what it's gonna do, it's gonna seal up the threads. So nothing can pass through and get down inside. Go on. Off the excess. Now here's where it gets a little bit crucial, where you got to pay attention and not get carried away. So we're going to tighten this up. And you don't need to put any kind of torque or squeeze on it. I'm going to bring it down just to a touch, like so, and that's all you need. You can give it a spin, feel that's gliding real nice and easy, and that's all you need. And the thread locker is also going to help keep that from backing out as you're running too as well, as long as working as a seal. Now the reason for the shim is going to give us a little bit of a gap. So when we put the cap on, the shim's going to actually hit on here and lift it up a bit so it's not running metal to metal in here. Alan. Need to get it by this seal. Look, it's a little tight with these new seals. So before oh. Yeah. Got it. Got it. Worse than a credit, right? That you go. Still spinning freely. Flip it over. And see, we've already got the seals and the bearings in on this side. Bait it. Take our next M10. These new seals are really good and tight. give you a little bit of encouragement. Hi, smiles. We'll wipe off the excess. There you have it, nice and smooth. Now we're gonna take it over the bench and we'll show you how we set it up and test it. Hey guys, so we got the quill all back together and we are gonna test it now. So we make sure it's good for the customer to use. So follow over here, I'll show you how we test it. So I've got this quill holder that we have and I mounted it to the table of our mill. I've added a pulley on the end of the quill here that our belt will go in and run in. So what we'll do, we'll just slide this in here. So, clamp her down, of course. Now we'll get this up and running at 3,000 RPM and we'll run it for a half hour with a temperature gauge on it. And to make sure we don't get overheated, we'd like to see anywhere from 108 to 111 is a good temperature, so we know we're good to go. So grab my belt here, got my other pulley set up. Here I'm like so. And get her straight, good tension. Go ahead. Now we're up and running. So you can see we're only at 1600 RPM. So we'll bump that up. Still my temperature gauge. It was treated on here like before. Start the clock for a half hour and yeah, we'll come back and we'll check the temperature. Well, really that's all there is to this. Make sure it's running good. Then we'll also check the taper, make sure there's small movement on it. If we're done, we'll stamp up part number and should be ready to go for the customer. If you guys have any questions about that or want to see any other kind of videos or like this, please let us know what you thought. And yeah, reach out to us at LeBlondusa.com and we'll see what we can do to help you. Thank you.